Hey everyone, it's Sanjay. Today's video, we're going to dive into the cons of working in tech sales. A little bit about me. I've been in software sales for a little over 4.5 years now. I started working at a public company, then went to a Series A startup, and now I work for a mature startup as an enterprise account executive. On the side, I also consult for open source startups, helping them turn their essentially open source communities into paid customers and building out their go-to-market strategy. So I have a good understanding of some of the advantages and disadvantages a career in software and a career in software sales specifically can afford you. Now, before we dive into the video, I do have a weekly newsletter that I release every Saturday. This week's topic is going to be not just the cons, but also the pros. So if you're interested in reading a little bit more about my experience in tech sales and some of the advantages that have been given to me, as well as some of the drawbacks, here's the link below. Go there and sign up for the newsletter. And I'll see you there. But without further ado, let's dive straight into today's video. The first con is constant pressure. Now, in sales, it's not what you've done, but it's what you've done for me lately. And you'll hear this across sales orgs everywhere, basically. But the gist of it is this, right? Like sales is very much a performance-based role. So you get a yearly quota and you get a quarterly quota. Once that quarter is finished, if you do well in your number, the next quarter you're back to square one and you have to build your pipeline, you have to start closing deals. In sales, there's a constant pressure of always needing to be on, because if you take a couple weeks off, you come back and your pipeline has gone stale, your deals have gone stale, and then you have to rebuild and get the snowball back up and rolling. So I think that constant pressure definitely takes a toll if you don't have a good way to decompress and manage your emotions daily and weekly. The other side of sales is a lot of that pressure comes from being in the spotlight. Your failures are very much in the public, right? So for example, if you're an accountant and if you mess up the numbers, there's a really good chance you're not messing up in front of the client. Your mistakes aren't also publicly broadcasted to the broader team. So in sales, right, like most of the mistakes happen in front of your teammates or in front of your clients themselves. And all your numbers are visible to your team, to other leaders, to your leaders. So there's really nowhere to hide if you're not performing well. So I think that constant pressure of always having to be on definitely takes a toll on folks. Now, for me, my biggest thing is actually setting aside, like how I decompress and kind of pull away from that constant pressure is having a set time of this is when my workday ends. I'm a fully remote sales rep, so when 6 p.m. hits, I leave my laptop here in my own home office. I go downstairs, play with my dog, take him for a walk, hang out with my girlfriend, watch TV, and actually fully decompress from the workday, because in the past, when I did go remote for the first time, I would be sitting on the couch with my laptop, writing emails, watching Netflix, and that just isn't sustainable long term. So I would say, during the weekdays, having a hard stop as far as when you want to stop working, I think that's extremely important, because there's always more work that you can do when you're in sales. And I think you'll realize that, and that constant pressure is always there. I'm also a big believer that like working like 1 or 2 hours in the weekends to help supplement some of the weekday workload. I'm a big fan of that. I might work an hour on a Saturday, I might work an hour or two on Sunday evening just to get prepped for the week. So that I can actually have a solid, end to my day on Monday through Friday. So I think that one of the big cons of tech sales is the constant pressure of the role. Number 2 con, lack of control. Now, there's a lot of things that impact your success as a seller that aren't in your control. It's 2023. It's not a secret that the economy in the United States isn't doing so hot. Budgets are getting slashed. Companies aren't spending money on new software. These macroeconomic trends are there that are impacting sellers day to day. But outside of that, when you join a new sales job, like the way that your accounts are given to you, how that company sets you up for success has a lot of impact on your success itself. And sometimes, especially at larger companies, you don't really have a lot of control over how that company sets you up for success. So something a mentor shared with me early on for how to think about, a new opportunity or a new sales job and evaluate them is this acronym called TTT. So territory, timing, and talent. So territory, most companies, if you're joining, they will give you a list of accounts. If you spend time with the wrong accounts, you'll be spinning your wheels, you'll be getting discouraged, People who aren't your ICP, people who are, maybe more legacy and not modern companies. If you're selling more, a cloud solution, that's going to impact your ability to have success. And what I would recommend for a lot of sales reps is, work with your managers. If you're interviewing for a new job, ask them about the territory you'd be working with, what types of accounts, what kind of resources do you have, right? Like, is there a territory analyst that's going to research companies for you and give you a fresh set of accounts if you burn through your old list? There's that. Work with your manager if you're in a sales job today to figure out where should you be spending your time, what accounts have the highest propensity to buy your solution. Building out a territory is extremely important so that you're spending your time with the people that are most likely to buy your solution. And this, you have a little bit of control over. Actually, you have a medium amount of control over. Sometimes some companies do shoot you down and say, hey, this is your book of accounts, sell into it. But a lot of companies will work with their reps to make sure that they're setting them up for success. So definitely hold your leadership accountable, ask for the accounts you want to sell into, make sure that they know where you want to prioritize your time. Let's talk about timing. Okay, so there's a saying, sellers don't close deals, buyers close deals. So when we talk about, how a deal ends up closing is you're really aligning to the timeline of the customer. You're not coming in and trying to dictate and try to getting them to buy your solution on your timeline, right? You want to get them to buy on their timeline. So based on this, you want to figure out which deals or which accounts have initiatives happening in the next 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, and prioritize them basically based on their implementation or go live date, so that you're spending your time with the accounts that are kind of closest to close, if you will. Closest to the pin is what I like to say. And then working your way backwards. So if you have a company that has an initiative that's, a year and a half, 2 years down the line, it's going to take a little bit longer. You're going to want to, slowly start building those relationships, educating them. If you have a company that, something broke and they need to buy something, in 6 weeks, you should highly prioritize them. So timing is going to be extremely important for your success and making sure that you're prioritizing that. Timing is something you have absolutely no control over because it is based on your customer's project, it's based on their initiatives, it's based on their pain and really their why now. So timing is completely outside of your control, but you can control it by doing good discovery and prioritizing your time. So you can kind of mitigate the risk there. And the last thing, which is mostly in your control, is talent. Now, some companies, when you join them, they'll have, sales enablement, a good onboarding. You might have a good manager that's going to constantly coach you and give you good feedback. But for the most part, your enablement and your development is your responsibility, and you fully control how you want to enable yourself and how you want to take feedback and how you execute on that feedback. And so, talent is fully within your control, and it has a huge impact on how successful you are. But yeah, I would say, kind of wrapping this section up, like there's a lot of things outside of your control. If you're looking for a new sales job or if you're in your current sales job, look at your territory, make sure you're selling to the right accounts, prioritize that territory based on those companies or your buyers, projects and initiatives, and then make sure that you're owning your development and you're executing against any feedback you're getting from your customers or your internal teams. Now, before we dive into the last point, please connect with me on LinkedIn. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to DM me. I'm happy to help however I can. Here is the URL to my LinkedIn profile. I read and basically respond to all DMs directly. So throw me a connection request. I'm trying to grow my network and I'm here to help as many folks who are interested and want help as possible. So connect with me on LinkedIn and DM me if you have any questions. Now, the third and final con to software sales is rejection and ghosting. As a sales rep, your job is to sift through a sea of no's in order to get to a yes. The good part is if you bat 300, like, you create, 10 new deals and you close 3 of them, you're going to do very successful, right? A 30% conversion rate is a really good conversion rate in tech sales. So, kudos, keep up the good work. But in order to get to that, you have to go through quite a bit of no's in order to get that. So you might call 100 people, 5 of them pick up, you might set 2 meetings, one of those meetings ends up becoming an opportunity. You have to get basically 10 of those opportunities to close 3 of them, right? So in order to do that, you have to call X amount of people, talk to X amount of people, get X amount of no's, and, face rejection basically on a daily basis. I joke to my friends and family that like my job is basically to get told no for a living. I think it actually does get better with time, simply because like for me, right? Like when I first started selling, every rejection did take a toll on me because I would do like 10 calls and like one person saying no was like this huge thing. Like I was like, wow, like 10% are like, you know, really upset that I'm calling them. The gist of it is it doesn't really matter at the end of the day. And now when I make a cold call or if I'm dialing through a list, I don't have enough time for the rejection to stick, because if someone tells me no, I'm like, okay, great. Like I have like 15, 20 other people that I need to call before my next meeting. So, you know, because I have to take massive action and I'm extremely busy, I don't have the time to actually let the rejection stick. So for me, it's gotten a lot better. You kind of have to go through the rejections to, you know, kind of build that muscle or almost build a callus, if you will. But I think what it does still really hurt though is, and this ties back to that first point around constant pressure. If you're under a lot of pressure to close a deal within a quarter, or within, you know, you're about to miss your number if a deal doesn't come in, and then the prospect ghosts you or they say no, those rejections sting, right? Like after, like rejections on cold calls or emails, like they don't really affect me at all. But once I've put time into building out a deal and working with a customer and I really need a deal to close, and then they say no or ghost me, those sting. It does take a mental toll on you, but for me, like how I think about, you know, getting ahead of that and kind of decompressing is, one, taking massive action. That's always helped me, right? Like, you know, if you get told no, you're just one step closer to getting a yes. So just continue to take massive action. Don't get unfazed. At the end of the, like, you know, if you extrapolate this no over the course of your life, it doesn't really matter. And so that's how I like to think about it. The other thing is, if it is a really like harsh, you know, no, like, or if I'm like really upset about something, I just step away from my desk and go for like a quick like 5-minute walk, or I'll go like pet my dog. Like I'll decompress for a little bit. Like I think there's nothing wrong with that. You know, like we're all human. So those are some ways that I think about like decompressing and kind of not letting the toll of rejection affect my ability to perform. Awesome, y'all. So that's the video for today. If you enjoyed the video, give the video a thumbs up. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. I'm posting 2 videos a week moving forward. My goal is to post them on Wednesday and Sunday. And yeah, outside that, have a good rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.